The silent vanguard. The grand architect of the galactic Concordat, Vexnor, stood motionless before the vast observation window of the celestial spire. His 4 eyes, each a different shade of amber, reflected the distant stars as his secondary arms twitched with agitation. The primary diplomatic council of 12 species waited in uncomfortable silence behind him. "Explain it again," he commanded, voice unnaturally calm. "Explain how a primitive species we designated as non-threatening could possibly be responsible for this." Fleet Admiral Tuzeri stepped forward, her scaled skin flushing blue with stress. "The evidence is conclusive, Grand Architect. The outposts along the Orion Spur have gone silent. The last transmission from Monitoring Station Epsilon contained this." She activated a holographic display. Static crackled before resolving into the panicked face of a Vexnorian officer. "Emerging from nowhere. Our sensors didn't detect." The officer glanced off-screen, mandibles clicking in terror. "By the void, they've breached our shields without firing." "That's impossible. These aren't registered human vessels. Humans don't have ships like that." The transmission dissolved into static. "This is the 4th such incident this cycle," Tuzeri continued. "Always the same pattern. Undetected approach. No weapons discharge. Stations go dark. No distress signals. No survivors." Vexenor's upper limbs folded across his ceremonial armor. "Humans were barely achieving rudimentary ion propulsion when we first encountered them. Their ships were quaint, inefficient. We deemed them unworthy of full diplomatic integration." "Perhaps that was our mistake," murmured Councillor Vexra, the eldest of the Concordat representatives. "We assumed their technological progression would follow predictable patterns. We never considered they might leapfrog certain developmental stages." "Impossible," spat Vexnor. "No species advances that quickly without external assistance." His eyes narrowed. Unless they found something," finished Admiral Tuzeri. "Or someone found them." Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Shadowstep, hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars through the forward viewport. The experimental vessel hung in the void, invisible to conventional sensors, its quantum displacement drive humming at standby. "Status report," she ordered, not turning around. Lieutenant Commander Jackson consulted his display. "All systems nominal, Captain. The quantum displacement matrix is stable at 99.7%. We're completely invisible to Concordat scanning technology." "And the Epsilon station?" "Successfully neutralized. We extracted all data regarding Earth's defensive capabilities and civilian population centers. Their network has been purged and their communication systems disabled. No casualties, as ordered." Chen nodded. 5 years ago, she had been a commercial transport pilot when the Galactic Concordat made first contact with Earth. She remembered the day vividly. The massive alien vessels appearing in orbit, the mixture of fear and wonder that swept across humanity. Then came the disappointment. The Concordat had assessed Earth as a developing civilization of limited potential. They established minimal diplomatic relations, offering restricted access to their galactic network and limited technological exchanges. Humanity was essentially patted on the head and told to continue developing at its own pace. Perhaps in a few centuries they might be considered for probationary membership. What the Concordat failed to realize was how humans responded to being underestimated. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Reyes. Priority Alpha." Chen tapped her neural interface. "Put her through." Admiral Sophia Reyes appeared on the view screen, her expression grim. "Captain Chen, Phase 1 is complete. All strategic Concordat outposts in our solar vicinity have been neutralized. The Shadowstep's performance exceeded projections." "Thank you, Admiral." The crew performed admirably. "The Nexus artifacts are responding as predicted by Dr. Singh's team. Each outpost we neutralize seems to strengthen the connection." Rice hesitated. "We've detected significant Concordat fleet movement. They're mobilizing faster than anticipated." Chen wasn't surprised. They always underestimate us. First our potential, now our resolve. The Security Council has voted. We're accelerating to Phase 2. Return to Sol immediately for retrofit and prepare for Operation Disclosure. Chen's heart raced. So soon. I thought we had more time to. Time is a luxury we no longer have, Captain. The Gentar outpost managed to transmit partial scans of Shadowstep's quantum signature before you neutralized it. The Concordat is scared, and that makes them dangerous. In the hidden research facility beneath the Marianas Trench, Dr. Amara Singh moved through a forest of holographic equations, occasionally reaching out to adjust values and parameters. Around her, a team of scientists from 27 nations worked in focused silence, surrounded by technology that would have been unimaginable 6 years ago. At the center of the vast chamber sat the nexus, a perfect sphere of unknown material that seemed to absorb and reflect life simultaneously. It had been discovered buried in the Antarctic ice, over 30,000 years old according to carbon dating. Yet it responded to human touch, human thoughts. Singh's neural interface pinged. Admiral Rice, I was just about to contact you. Tell me something good, Doctor. The Nexus is evolving. Each time the Shadowstep completes a mission, the artifact's energy output increases. It's almost as if it's pleased. Pleased that we're opposing the Concordat. Singh shook her head. It's more specific than that. The energy spikes correspond precisely to moments when Shadowstep's quantum displacement drive engages near Concordat technology. It's almost as if the Nexus recognizes the Concordat and doesn't like them. That aligns with our theories about the progenitors, Rice said. If the Nexus is indeed progenitor technology, as we suspect, and if the Concordat's rise to power involves suppressing or destroying progenitor civilizations, then the Nexus may be helping us because we share a common adversary. Singh finished. But Admiral, there's something else. We've deciphered more of the glyphs. The Nexus wasn't buried in Antarctica by accident. It was waiting for us, specifically us, humans. Reyes was silent for a long moment. How certain are you? The translation matrix is 97% confident. And there's more. The Nexus contains coordinates, hundreds of them, scattered throughout the galaxy. We think they're locations of other progenitor artifacts, including weapons. Singh swallowed hard. Especially weapons. Grand Architect Vexnor rarely felt fear. In 900 years of life, he had faced civil wars, succession crises, and even the occasional existential threat to the Concordat. But the report before him chilled his blood in a way nothing ever had. Confirm this, he demanded. Chief Science Overseer Mazrael bobbed nervously. We have verified it through multiple channels. The quantum displacement signature detected at Outpost Gentar matches theoretical models for progenitor phase shift technology. Technology we believed was extinct. The humans couldn't have developed this independently. No, Grand Architect. The mathematics alone would take them millennia to master. They must have found something. Vexenor's mandibles clicked rapidly, an unconscious sign of distress. A progenitor artifact. On their world. All this time. The implications were staggering. The progenitors had vanished 50,000 years ago, leaving only fragments of their vastly advanced civilization scattered across the galaxy. The Concordat had built its power by controlling access to these fragments, carefully regulating which species could access which technologies. How many incursions have the humans conducted? 7 confirmed, but given our inability to detect their vessels. Rail left the sentence unfinished. They're preparing for something, Vexnor said. Gathering intelligence, testing our responses. He turned to Fleet Admiral Tuzari. Mobilize the 7th and 12th fleets. Set course for the human homeworld. Tuzari stiffened. Grand Architect, that would constitute nearly a third of our total military strength. Yes, and if I'm right about what the humans have found, we may need more. Captain Chen watched Earth grow larger in the view screen as Shadowstep approached. Even with quantum displacement technology, The journey from the outer reaches of the solar system took time. Time she had used to prepare her crew for whatever came next. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. "We're detecting massive quantum disturbances at the edge of the system. Multiple vessels emerging from FTL. Concordat." "Yes, Mom. Configuration matches 7th and 12th Fleet designations. Over 300 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts." Chen's expression remained neutral, though her heart pounded. "It seems we've got their attention. They're deploying in standard Concordat formation, blockade pattern. They're positioning to cut off all approaches to Earth." Chen opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. "Admiral Reyes, the Concordat response fleet has arrived. They're moving faster than we anticipated." Reyes's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. "We've detected them. All defense platforms are online, and the planetary shield is at maximum capacity. But against that many ships, what about the other Shadowstep-class vessels? Vigilance and Horizon are still in final testing. They're not ready for combat deployment." Chen studied the tactical display. "I'm reading energy buildups consistent with weapons charging across the Concordat fleet. They're not here to talk, Admiral." Reyes nodded. "Then we execute Operation Disclosure ahead of schedule. Captain Chen, you are authorized to reveal the full capabilities of the Shadowstep to the Concordat forces. Let's show them exactly what they're dealing with." Chen turned to her crew. "Battle stations. Prepare the nexus protocols." As red alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship, Chen couldn't help but feel a moment of grim satisfaction. The Concordat had dismissed humanity, deemed them unworthy. Now they would learn just how costly that mistake had been. Reckoning point. The Concordat fleet hung in space like a constellation of predators, their sleek hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Within the command center of the flagship Eternal Dominion, Grand Architect Vex Nor studied the holographic representation of the Sol system with growing unease. "Where are their defenses?" he demanded. "A species with access to Progenitor technology should have a system bristling with weapons." Fleet Admiral Tuzari gestured to the display. "We detect rudimentary orbital platforms and a planetary energy shield, but nothing that could withstand sustained bombardment from our fleet." "It makes no sense," muttered Science Overseer Mazrael. Unless what?" Vex Nor turned his 4 eyes toward the scientist. "Unless their primary defense isn't visible to our sensors." Rail manipulated the display controls. "We should consider the possibility that they've developed." An alarm blared, cutting him off. The tactical display flashed red as a vessel suddenly appeared in the midst of the Concordat formation, a sleek, obsidian craft unlike any human design previously documented. "Impossible," Tuzari hissed. "Nothing could penetrate our formation without detection." "Incoming transmission," announced the communications officer. "From the human vessel." "Display it," ordered Vex Nor, his voice carefully controlled. The holographic screen resolved to show a human female in a dark uniform, her expression calm and resolute. "This is Captain Ilara Chen of the United Earth ship Shadowstep. Your fleet has entered sovereign Earth space without authorization. You will power down weapons systems and withdraw immediately, or face the consequences of your aggression." Vexenor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "A single vessel demands the withdrawal of our entire fleet. Your species' arrogance is as boundless as your naivety." "Not arrogance, Grand Architect. Confidence." Captain Chen's expression remained impassive. "A Shadowstep is merely the first of its kind. Even now, we're building more. You came here expecting to find a primitive species scrambling to understand stolen technology. Instead, you face a civilization that has fully embraced its destiny as the progenitors intended." The word sent a shockwave through the command center. Vex Nor's secondary arms twitched violently. "You cannot possibly understand the significance of what you found," he said. "The progenitors vanished for a reason. Their technology is not meant for lesser species." Chen interrupted. "That's been the Concordat's position for millennia, hasn't it? hoarding fragments of Progenitor technology, doling out scraps to those you deem worthy, keeping the rest of the galaxy firmly under your control. She leaned forward. But the progenitors chose us, Vex Nor. Their message was clear. The inheritors shall rise when the stars align. And now we have. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Singh watched in awe as the nexus pulsed with increasing intensity. Energy readings were off the charts, yet somehow contained within the perfect sphere. "Doctor, we're detecting similar energy signatures activating worldwide," reported one of her assistants. "All 7 fragments are synchronizing." When the nexus had been discovered, it wasn't alone. 7 smaller fragments had been unearthed at various locations around the globe, each dormant until the main artifact awakened them. Now, they formed a network, a planetary system that humanity was only beginning to understand. "The Concordat fleet is powering weapons," said Admiral Reyes, watching from the command center above. "Shadowstep is engaging." Singh nodded, her eyes never leaving the nexus. "This is what it's been waiting for, not just to help us develop defenses, but to reveal itself fully." As if responding to her words, the nexus suddenly projected a holographic display, intricate symbols and diagrams flooding the chamber with light. "My God," breathed Singh. "It's not just a database or a weapon. It's a key." In the void of space, Shadowstep danced among the Concordat vessels with impossible grace. Quantum displacement technology allowed it to phase partially in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing faster than the enemy's targeting systems could track. On the bridge, Captain Chen gripped the command rails as the ship executed another near-instantaneous jump, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma torpedoes. "Status of the Nexus core," she demanded. "Power levels at 82% and climbing," reported her XO. "The more they fire at us, the stronger the resonance becomes." Chen nodded. This was exactly as Dr. Singh had predicted. The Concordat weapons, derived from corrupted Progenitor technology, created a feedback loop that strengthened the Nexus connection. "Target the flagship's propulsion systems. Precision strike, minimal damage." Shadowstep blinked into existence directly behind the Eternal Dominion. A pulse of blue-white energy lanced out, striking with surgical precision. The massive flagship shuddered, its engines flickering and dying. "Direct hit," confirmed the tactical officer. "Their primary propulsion is offline. Open a channel to Grand Architect Vex Nor." Chen stood tall as the Vexnorian's face appeared on the view screen, his amber eyes blazing with fury and fear. "This demonstration is merely a courtesy," she said calmly. "We could have destroyed your flagship, but that's not our intention. The progenitors weren't warriors, Vex Nor. They were explorers, scientists, builders of bridges between worlds." "Lies," hissed Vex Nor. "The progenitors were destroyers who nearly tore the galaxy apart with their hubris. That's why we've controlled access to their technology, to prevent another catastrophe." "Is that the story the Concordat has told for all these centuries?" Chen shook her head. "Perhaps you even believe it, but the Nexus has shown us the truth." A new voice cut into the transmission. Dr. Singh, speaking from Earth. "Grand Architect, the progenitors weren't destroyed by their own technology. They were systematically eliminated by the species that would later form the Concordat. Your ancestors feared their philosophy of technological equality, the belief that all sentient species deserved access to the same knowledge." Singh's face appeared beside Chen's on the transmission. "The Nexus isn't just a repository of technology. It's a historical record, preserved for whoever the progenitors deemed worthy to find it. And they chose humans," Chen continued. "Not because we're superior, but because we hadn't yet been influenced by Concordat doctrine. We were outside your sphere of control." Vexenor's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Even if what you say is true, releasing Progenitor technology indiscriminately would create chaos. Some species aren't ready for such advancement. And who decides that?" challenged Chen. "The Concordat, based on criteria designed to maintain your dominance." Before Vex Nor could respond, Alarms blared across both ships. In Earth orbit, a massive energy surge emanated from the planet's surface, coalescing into a shimmering portal of light. "What have you done?" demanded Vexnor, genuine terror in his voice. Chen looked equally surprised. "This isn't our doing." Through the portal emerged a vessel unlike any human or Concordat design, crystalline structures flowing into organic shapes, radiating with inner light. It dwarfed even the largest Concordat dreadnought. "Incoming transmission," announced Chen's communications officer, voice shaking. "From the unknown vessel. It's broadcasting on all frequencies, in all known languages simultaneously." A figure appeared on screens throughout the human and Concordat fleets, humanoid but clearly not human, with luminescent skin and eyes that contained galaxies. "We are the Guardians, the last descendants of those you call progenitors. For millennia, we have watched from the shadows as the Concordat twisted our legacy. We left the nexus artifacts throughout the galaxy as keys, tests to find civilizations worthy of our knowledge." The being's gaze seemed to penetrate through the screens, touching each viewer personally. "Humanity has passed the first test. They found our key, understood its purpose, and used our technology not for conquest, but for defense. Now begins the true awakening." Vexnor stared in disbelief. "Impossible. The progenitors are extinct. This must be some human deception." The Guardian's expression remained serene. "Your ancestors tried to erase us from history, Vexnor. They nearly succeeded, but we have watched as the Concordat built an empire on fear and technological suppression, the antithesis of everything we stood for." The being turned its gaze to Captain Chen. "We do not offer our knowledge freely, even now. Humanity must prove worthy of the inheritance, as must all species. What do you require of us?" Chen asked. "Balance. Partnership, the courage to share power rather than hoard it." The Guardian gestured, and new portals began to open throughout the solar system. "The age of the Concordat's unchallenged dominance is ending. A new era begins today, one where technology serves all sentient life, not just the privileged few." 3 months later, Captain Chen stood in the celestial spire beside Grand Architect Vexnor, watching representatives from 200 species file into the newly formed Galactic Assembly. "I never imagined standing here as an equal," she admitted. "When we found the Nexus, our only goal was to protect Earth from potential Concordat aggression." Vexnor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Chen had learned indicated thoughtful reflection. "For millennia, we believed we were preserving galactic stability," he said. "Perhaps we were merely preserving our own power." The center of the chamber illuminated as a Guardian materialized, ready to address the assembly. Around them, humans worked alongside Vexnorians and dozens of other species, learning from each other, sharing knowledge that had been restricted for too long. "The progenitors left us a message in the Nexus," Chen said quietly. "Knowledge shared multiplies. Knowledge hoarded diminishes. Your ancestors feared that philosophy." "With good reason," Vexnor replied. "It threatens everything the Concordat was built upon." He turned his amber eyes to Chen. "But perhaps that's exactly what the galaxy needs." As the Guardian began to speak of a new galactic covenant, Chen couldn't help but smile. The Concordat had been so certain. Humans couldn't possibly have ships like Shadowstep, couldn't possibly understand progenitor technology, couldn't possibly challenge the established order. They had been wrong on all counts. And now, the stars themselves were changing.